Hey, welcome back to the Justice Served Telethon. Here we are, hour 25. We're hoping to make that goal. Welcome, folks. This is our Q&A. Normally, we would have this at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, but we had Dave Ehrenberg live at 1 o'clock. That was his schedule, and we wanted to make sure we got him on. So before we launch into anything exciting here, hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Okay, hold on. Courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
All right, that was kind of like "This Is Your Life."
Yeah, and I'm Linda Kenny Button. You're Michael Bryant, but you have an Emmy, and I just have trial victories. So I mean, I want an Emmy now, and I want to send you to trial.
A couple of Emmys.
That didn't come out right? You to trial.
Yeah, right. A couple of Emmys and $5 will get you a cup of coffee. So.
Oh, you got some questions already. Let's launch right into them, because what's very popular is YSL Young Thug. And Michael Bryant, I just want to give you kudos, because you're man on the street segment. And I understand that it's man on the street because you were
me on the street. It's not who am I interviewing as
because I was like arguing with you, like, you know, it should be the person on the street or the people you're interviewing. And you explained to me, I'm not sure I agree with it. I think it's just somebody
back in the old days.
But back in the old days. But thank you all for joining us again. And let's launch right into the questions, because it's about YSL. Michael, were you surprised by any man on the street interview?
You know, I was surprised some people did best they could to avoid me. I mean, there were a couple of women that I clearly, I mean, it wasn't like I was in a mall. So there were people I could see them as they were approaching, and therefore they could probably see me. They actually crossed the street to avoid me, which is kind of a weird reverse racism thing, isn't it? I'm the white guy on the street, and they're crossing the street to avoid me. But it happened. I was not surprised by those that actually took the time to speak. You know, I think everybody had an opinion. I was surprised that I couldn't find, if I tried, it wasn't like we crafted the piece this way. I couldn't find anybody that was like, yes, prosecution's onto something here. This really needs to be pursued. Not one person. Now, obviously it's not a scientific study, but that was the reality.
Well, interesting, because one of the things I wanted to get into is one of the questions or comments we had on on your man on the street segment is somebody wrote, and I won't even, you can go look for it if you want to see who wrote it. Look who they're asking. Of course, they'd agree with your bias. I mean, it's almost like what was this person saying? That because you were interviewing people of color, that they'd agree with our bias. We're white, and we think this case is a ridiculous monstrosity, and there should be a not guilty. So I don't know what they were saying, and whether or not our viewers have found that there's a difference here between whether or not you're white, black, purple, green, yellow, or tangerine.
Yes, and with this particular case, you know, I've gotten less forgiving of the prosecution as this continues to play out, and stupidity crosses all racial lines. Okay, I don't care what color you are. If a case is poorly presented, incompetently presented, I don't care what color you are, and I don't care what color the defendants are. It is what it is. So I do find amusement when people decide that if you pick a side, as it were, that it's somehow because you're biased toward that side. No. I'll tell you what I'm biased toward: a trial that is properly tried with actual evidence that proves the defendants have committed the crime for which they've been accused. That's my bias.
Yeah, that's I know there's a lot of questions from this morning. Do you want to start, because Detective Gaither seems to be like flooding the floodgates to us?
Boy. Okay, yeah, I didn't even get to that barrage of questions.
We already have another question. We already have questions from our viewers.
Okay.
Right here. Disney World. Disney nerd. Disney World.
I saw one disappear. Was there two?
You know what? I'm sorry. To answer this question, we're talking about Detective Gaither. I have to put my jacket over my head again. Remember, you said I would get this jacket. I should be wearing it.
Be careful. That's not a cheap hairdo. Come on.
Well, I know I'm wearing it only because I'm hiding my face, because you know I'm a high-profile trial lawyer, and I don't want people to see me in the courtroom. Detective Gaither was allowed not to be shown, even though Detective Gaither has been all over 48.
That's what I think's
Yay!
interesting.
I mean, what are we talking about here? By the way, this is a Jets
What-
jacket. I should be hiding my face right now.
What is her problem? I don't understand why she thinks anybody gives a rip what she looks like. Is she afraid of retribution somehow? She's been in these interview tapes, right? Not exactly full face, but if you want to find out who former Sergeant Detective Gaither is, you can find out. If you want to find out where she lives, you can find out. So what's with the don't show my face?
Right. Right.
I don't understand it. And you saw what
happened.
happened. You see what happened? One of the social websites, and I think it's called, what is it called? Something Fox, Empress Fox, blah, 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 posted a picture of Prosecutor Love and a full face of Gaither on the stand from earlier today or late yesterday. Posted it. And then when posting it, and I should follow her, I suppose. She's one of the folks that's, giving her 2 cents on this YSL trial. She made a point of saying, I didn't take this, somebody sent it to me. Well, having been in that courtroom, there aren't very many folks with the permission to take pictures.
Right.
It's like 3 people. So Judge Whitaker was basically looking at that area, and as you walk into the courtroom, it's a hard left. You have a couple of benches for the family. Then you have the media, which is virtually empty except for Sylvia, right?
Right.
Then the long crime folks who are running the day-to-day camera. There aren't that many folks that could have taken the picture that ended up online. So I find it amusing on 2 fronts. Who gives a rip if Gaither's picture is out there, really? And the fact that it could have only been one of a couple of people that took it, and the judge knows that.
Yeah, and Afton Ferd asked her, did you see the witness the other day? And you and I talked about this morning. That's why I'm throwing this one right to you. Did you see the witness the other day where it looked like Love was messaging him while he was on the stand?
I'm glad you mentioned that. You're kind of jumping the gun on my
I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun on your questions. So our viewers are ahead of us today.
Okay, well, let me tell you. This is from, let me see if I can find it here, from Deanne Thomas. She calls it Computergate. I believe it's a she. I'm not sure. Talking about Sprinkle, the ADA, being on the court, being on the witness stand, and believing that perhaps there was some communication between Sprinkle and Love while he was testifying during cross-examination. Okay, so what I have here, I got this video, and I basically went in because I was curious. It was an interesting observation. So I went in and I looked at that chunk, and I'm going to play this for you now, and you will see that Love has her laptop in a way where the camera can kind of see what's on the screen, and she will deliberately move it about 90 degrees so you no longer can see what's on the screen. Then you'll see Sprinkle look into the laptop that's in front of him on the witness stand. Now, is he doing that because he's getting a message, or is he doing it because he's looking at the exhibits they're talking about? We'll never really know, but take a look. Let me cue this baby up here. Let's see, where did I put it? I know I've got this. I know I have it here somewhere. Where did it go?
Yeah, he talks about B because the B on the pillow stands for baby. Brian Bodden, we're very partial to B.
Talk amongst yourself for just a moment here.
Well, you can have the same question. Then we'll follow up with some other questions that are in our that are actually live today, and we have the other questions people sent us, such as Disney Nerd. I know you're going to want us to answer this question. What do y'all think about the judge admonishing the prosecution? Will the judge, at some point declare a mistrial due to the prosecution's actions? And we're going to talk about that. We have very strong opinions on that, and I know we also have other people that are interested in that same answer. But let's get to, he's going to make me put my Jed Shroud pretty soon again. Michael.
I know. My tech skills are being tested here because I went through this yesterday and I edited it so that we could see exactly what this question related to. And of course, now it seems to have disappeared in the ether. Well,
you can keep looking at it while I answer some of these questions while you're looking for it. How's that?
Go ahead. I'm going to give it a little more.
So let's go.
It may be gone.
What do you think about the judge admonishing the prosecution? I would have given him my law license, and I'd be going, being the greeter at Walmart the next day to try to feed my family, because I've never seen anything quite like that as bad in a courtroom, except for when Judge Glanville decided to put Michael Steele, defense attorney, in jail. That was pretty ridiculously bad, but awful. And I thought, well, maybe things are changing. Maybe some things are changing. But you know what? She's had so many opportunities, including this morning, which we're going to talk about with Detective Gaither on the stand, to declare a mistrial. Judge Whittaker I'm talking about. And she has not declared that mistrial. And I think that therefore she becomes, remember, she was a prosecutor, she becomes part of the system. She's not going to take the heat. She's not going to have the sneakers, as I say, like the judge in New Mexico did with Baldwin, to say, this is so bad, I'm going to get rid of it. She's going to get it, finish it and let it put it into the jury's room with the jurors, if they're still there, in 5 years from now, and say, well, you see, that's the way it was. So I think that my view are judges, when they should just get off the bench at that point and sit with the prosecution, because whatever they do helps the prosecution, even though they may yell at them and do all sorts of stuff. So that's my view of it, Michael. I don't know if you have a different view.
Okay, my view is I'm mad that I can't find this video that I put together. So let's talk about it, though, as if it's actually there in the, this will be the illusion of the mind. So we have Miss Love. Let me use this demonstrative exhibit. And, this is facing the camera. You could actually see what's on it. She turns it 90 degrees, sprinkled then in being asked a question about a specific piece of the phone records or the contact between some of the parties, then looks in. You see him look in to his computer screen. But it's also at or about the time that he's asked the question that might refer to what's on that screen in the form of an exhibit. So I think it's an interesting question. I think it's a great conspiracy theory. I'm not sure that Prosecutor Love, and this has given her some benefit of the doubt, is so stupid that she would be communicating with a witness while the witness was on the stand to help that witness answer a question on cross-examination that was helpful to the prosecution. I've gone beyond she's just not bright to she's incompetent. I just don't know if she's that stupid. I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, well, or evil. I mean, maybe she's evil and thinks because she's gotten away with it.
As I watch her, it just comes off as stupid. It just looks incompetent. The way she answers questions from the judge when the judge presses for, why didn't you turn that over? The most recent is today's, I think, mistrial of the day, where Gaither said she didn't have any of her files. Remember, she's been retired since 2020. She doesn't have these files from 2015. She left them on the 5th floor. Obviously, I'm just picturing boxes strewn all over the place, and she takes nothing with her. Well, now, on direct examination, remember, this is on the recall, because she was on the stand months ago. Now she's called back, and she says that she never got these files, and all of a sudden, a file comes up that Love has. And that she said she just learned about it out in the hallway during the Gaither testimony, as she was either prepping her or on a break. And the judge says, and remember, Paige Whittaker is still, sore from the other day, when she almost declared a mistrial and she had to leave the bench. So now she's facing this again. It's like a daily occurrence. And Love is saying, well, yeah, I talked to Gaither, and I guess this file just materialized, but she didn't tell the defense. Like, the moment she walked back into that courtroom, she should have said, hey guys, this just surfaced. Take a look at it. She didn't even do that. And so the judge is basically saying, Ms. Love, that's what you should have done. Why do we have this trial where the judge is effectively, having a law school class on trial practice with the prosecutor?
Well, you know what though? The prosecutor's probably gotten away with this for so long, been covered for so much, because judges, as I say, should step off the bench. Sometimes they should wear the robes of I wouldn't even say it, some racist organization if it's a discrimination case, and sit with it with the prosecution team, because they protect the prosecutors. If you and I, as a defense attorney, walked into that courtroom and didn't turn over things, we'd get what Mr. Steele was given from Glanville. You're going to jail. You're in contempt. You can't ask that question. And that's what was happening before. Now that's not not happening, but that case is still going to be protected. Michael, there was also a second mistrial because Gaither got on the stand. Remember, she's a very experienced witness and said that some person looking for a deal, a snitch, came in because he was going to give the honest truth. He was going to give the honest story. And did she vouch for this person who was going to be a snitch? And that was another motion for mistrial, Michael.
Yeah, and that one, it was very nuanced, but it made perfect sense. The question led to an answer that said, I believe so-and-so was telling the truth. So she's vouching for somebody else's statement about who had been shooting, firing the gun or holding the gun. I'm trying to remember which case this was. This was the rifle being used from either the passenger seat or the rear seat behind the driver. And there was a real question as to the position of the shooter, not who had the gun, but the position. And her opinion as to who was telling the truth is inappropriate. You can't do that. Bolstering is the best way you can put it. And that was the basis for yet another motion for a mistrial, which you'll never guess what happened.
Hey, yeah, well, guess what? It was, let's say I play poker. It's supposed to have to be a game of skill. Gambling, okay. It was denied if I had to place a bet on it. If I were in a league, a fantasy league, and it's a fantasy that this trial is still on. It's a fantasy that this judge is going to ever do anything about it. I guess it was my fantasy for about 30 seconds on the day that the Miss Love was dressed down, shall we say?
Okay,
Michael,
so
speaking about dress. Speaking about
something.
dress, you got something? Because I have something too. Speaking about dress.
Let's see. Oh. And again, this relates to our, the comments we're seeing about, hey, you're just biased. You're just, I guarantee you, I don't have any Young Thug music on my playlist. I just don't. Okay.
You don't have trap music. You don't have trap music on your playlist.
I don't have that.
We're gonna have to educate you.
Here's the comment. And there's sort of a question buried in here. Are you all just going to ignore what Walter Murphy, Kenneth Copeland, and Zachary said in prior interviews with police? They never thought those interviews would be played before the world to see while sitting across from their former friends. Let's keep it 100%. Let me see if I can find out who wrote that. I cannot see it at the moment, but if I do, I'll share it. So that's a suggestion that, all these folks who got deals or somehow extricated from the defendants now sitting at the bench or at the table in front of the bench, that were somehow biased against them. You don't ignore that evidence, but you're still looking for the connection that the law requires, especially under RICO, to the defendants that are sitting there. And it's not a favoritism thing; it's a fact thing. I am a big fan of the facts. That's the only fan that I care about.
And I'm a big fan of the prosecution being able to prove the facts that meets a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, because that's our system of justice. And then it's just, I think it started out when I heard about, and I've mentioned this to you all. Let's see, we're using one possession of a joint from like 12 years ago and 3 Xanax in the bottom of a car from like 7 years ago as what we call predicate acts for RICO, because RICO needs 2 predicate acts crimes within a certain period of time. And we're using those as predicate acts that this is an organization, a racketeering organization. I mean, that's just ridiculous. RICO was supposed to be for the worst of the worst, supposed to be for the way to get the mob, the way to get bad people, not the way to get somebody, who's going to get re-prosecuted for a joint when we're selling them. I can walk down the street and get stoned in New York just by walking down the street. Everyone's smoking.
That's for sure. Oh my gosh, it's brutal.
It depends on your point of view.
Yeah, you're looking just for a free high, just a free contact high.
Okay, don't put this in the live stream. All those.
Somebody said, "What's that?" I call BS and everything comes out of love's mouth. Yeah, I think that's probably safe. And again, very few things make me yell at the screen. Very few things. I'm watching this unfold and I'm yelling. How stupid can you be? What a ridiculous thing to say or do or pretend. And I have not crossed that line that says she is so malicious. This is all being done as part of her evil plan. I just think she's totally incompetent. And now I'm starting to think that she was given this case because she's totally incompetent.
No, I think she was given this case because she doesn't have any ethics. Okay. In my opinion, you don't have any ethics, Miss Love. Okay. Because I've heard from the defense bar down there that they think that you do this in every single case, that you're the worst of the worst. And that they were hoping when Fonnie Willis came into office that she would clean up the place. And that obviously has not happened. And by the way, if you looked at Michael's man on the street and asked about Fonnie Willis, it didn't matter what color you were. People who were following this trial were mad at her, did not like her because of this prosecution.
Yeah, how many cases do you know of where the public is aware of the DA, not the immediate players, but the actual DA that decided the case should be prosecuted? Alvin Bragg, maybe in the New York area, but it's rare. They're usually in the back room somewhere. They're not front and center. But her name brings up very interesting emotions, and most of them are not good. This should be, if nothing else, if I were her competitor in this race that's going to be decided in about a month. And again, this competitor said, if I win, this case is over. I'd be using all these little trial clips for my commercials to say, if you want this to end, vote for me, because the tax dollars are insane. Somebody wrote, Red Bunny Baby wrote, we are at 41 mistrials since opening statements. I've tried to fact check that, and I've lost count. Maybe when we talk to Doug Weinstein again, which I believe is going to happen later this week,
right?
We'll see if he's been running a total on that. I'm not disputing it. 41 sounds like it's in the ballpark. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. Matter of fact, I think I responded back and I said, does that include the two motions for the mistrial this morning or the one for this morning? And I think it did. By the way, with Doug Weinstein, we're trying to have him on every week.
I think we're going to do that.
For those who celebrate tonight in the Jewish holidays, is Rosh Hashanah tonight. Tonight's the first night, the most important night. Tomorrow night, so we're going to try to have him on Friday night if we can. I mean, the judge is keeping everybody till about 6 o'clock. I memean, these lawyers have been in court forever, and they're tired. They're tired. Yeah. So when they come out, they want to come out and talk to you, and I think that's important. Especially Doug. He's such a great lawyer and such a great guy.
He's the man on the street in reality.
So I have something. Speaking about merch. Okay, merch. All right, I have to show my merch again. Pretty good merch if they'd win. We've been following somebody who's been covering the trial, Thugger Daly, who started when no one was covering this trial, and Thugger Daly is giving us updates, and I did not see this. Okay, so that's why I'm repeating it, giving him credit for showing it to us. The YSL trial co-defendant, Miles Farley, a.k.a. Slato, just dropped more pieces of his clothing brand, quote, "Make America Slime Again." The state wants to say they're gang clothes, I put that in quotes, and is trying to use it against him and everyone else. Here's a picture of the merch, okay? All right, let's see. You've got light blue, "Keep America Slime Again," a hat, and that type of stuff. To say that these are gang clothes, and these go for to put the proceeds therefore would go to YSL. That would be the theory, to support the gang, the Young Slime Life gang. Look, I represent somebody that we just coined something, make, and I can't tell you what we're saying the second word is because that would give away who the client is. Great again. Also, everyone's kind of using it. By the way, Missy, thank you. I love the jacket too. Somebody was wearing it at the Jets game I was at. I shouldn't have admitted that. And I wanted to know where, and I had to go run down and get it immediately right at the stadium because, and then they lost. So maybe we'll see what happens.
They were selling those at the stadium, those jackets?
Yeah, there's a store down there. You can buy them online too, but there's an NFL store at the stadium that you can buy.
I'm sure those are not cheap.
Michael, please don't talk to my husband.
Money's not an object. Okay, hey, I got a question that has nothing to do with YSL. Can you believe that? It's a Karen Reed question.
Great.
You remember Karen Reed? Karen Reed, of course, looking at retrial in January for the death of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. Right. Prosecution says she ran into him. Hung jury. Certain jurors anonymously say she was found not guilty of counts 1 and 3, the more serious charges. Will the trial go forward? What's going to happen? We don't know at this point. There is also an appeal that is pending, which has to do with whether or not those jurors' statements can be revisited, whether the counts 1 and 3 should be subject to basically res judicata or double jeopardy. Right. So with that in the background here, this is a question that has to do with whether you can use transcripts of the first trial. And this is from Jonathan Carter 99. Can transcripts of testimony from the first trial be used against a witness in the second trial if the witness tries to change their story? Counselor?
Yes, yes, you can. You can use them to make them as prior to cross-examine on the credibility for a prior inconsistent statement, or in some way, in some basis, if there's some factual basis that you get the witness to admit certain things, you can maybe use the transcript to actually be actual proof. New Jersey has a court rule like that, that you can make the transcript being the actual proof of what happened, as opposed to just cross-examining for an prior inconsistent statement. The jury hears it anyhow, so I'm not sure what the difference is, but yes, that's a possibility. Also, if the witness is gone, I mean, the witness is gone, not subject to subpoena, out of state, you can't find them, and they testified in the first trial,
Or they're dead. Or dead.
or they're
Yeah, I mean,
dead.
technically
try
it's,
not-
being unavailable, and every
Right.
state has a slightly different definition for what unavailable is.
Right, right.
So anyway, obviously we're going to keep an eye on that case, and all the stuff that's happening under the,
Some of the
behind,
proctor, yeah, I think they
behind the
question the
scenes.
proctor.
I mean, just go up there and hang out in the McCarthy's bar, or what was the second bar they went to? I've
The
already
water,
forgotten.
the water wheel, the water
The
wheel,
water, yeah, the
water well, water something.
Waterworks. No,
Waterworks. I don't know. You
yeah,
guys
that
tell
one.
us
Waterfall.
what the second bar.
Waterfall.
Right,
The
right.
waterfall.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the waterfall ball, right? And probably
Anyway.
what I often said, she said, is that they're referring to his proctor. What if he doesn't testify? Can you use the transcript? Well, then he is technically available for subpoena by the defense. They could call him, but then he can assert his Fifth Amendment right. So there's going to be an interesting issue when it comes to proctor. I perceive. Yes, the waterfall
there
ball.
could be immunity issues relating to him.
Yeah.
You know.
And my favorite question has to do with the prosecuting these folks. I think the prosecutors in this YSL case, and I've said this, Doug Weinstein won't go there. Of course he can't, because he lives in that community. He tries cases in that community. I think the prosecutors should be looked at by the feds here, because this can't be going on in more than, it has to be going on in more than one case. You just don't come in and act like this in a case like this and try to have evidence, and everyone, all the witnesses come in and say, hey, we were just finessing the police. We were giving them the story. We gave them what we wanted to hear. I think at some point there has to be, shall I say, using a term used by the quarterback for the Jets the other day, accountability. Okay. And you're not going to get that unless you start getting people and prosecutors prosecuted themselves.
Yep. It's a black mark. There's no doubt about it. And I'm Pollyannish enough to think that the justice system works most of the time. But when we see stuff like this, when we see stuff like the Alec Baldwin case, I think Alec Baldwin should be prosecuted. I think he should share responsibility for the death of Helena Hutchins. But because Special Prosecutor Morrissey was trying to hide the ball in the most obvious way, remember, these extra bullets, you don't need to see those to see if they're somehow related to your defense. Don't worry about it. That is horrible. That makes the system look like it's corrupt. And I think in the vast majority of cases, it's not. But it should never happen.
No, it always seems to be in the high profile cases. But if it's happening in the high profile cases, it's happening in the people that are. Today is wrongful conviction day, everybody. And the reason why we have wrongful convictions is somebody hid the ball, somebody hid the exculpatory evidence, somebody lied, somebody did something wrong. And when you have over 300 people that have been exculpated just by the Innocence Project in New York City, all right, the national project, over a period of time, and you have thousands, I think it's over 8,000 now, in the Exoneration Project, that it has to be happening where there's cases where you can't get like DNA or forensic evidence in the system. So something is awry. You have to be ethical. When I was a prosecutor, I just turned over my file. I'm like, here, look at my file. Come in and sit down. You can have everything, including my notes.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't, if that's not your ethical sense, then you got to be questioning what you're doing. Go get a job somewhere else where somebody's life is not on the line, or somebody's money and livelihood is not on the line. Hey, look at Missy finally agrees with me. That doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. I have to post that. Somebody
agrees
with my Michael. We have to freeze frame him and frame it up. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate that. Okay. So we're running out of time here. Anything we want to squeeze in? Another promo for mugs.
Okay, where in the world is justice? How come I don't have one of those?
You haven't earned one yet. That's the problem. You haven't earned one. Did you see Amanda won the first mug for our trip to Atlanta? She posted a couple of lovely photos, which I appreciated. So they are out there. They're secured. They're in a vault. It's 24-hour security, so nobody can get in there. And we are now crafting.
Michael, I will tell you that Michael will be making our next trip. I will be making a trip that's going to be planned in November for a World in the World. And we do have some international projects coming up. But yeah, all of you, where in the world is justice? Well, that's another segment, and we'll have to let you know. But in the meantime, we'll be live again, hopefully with Doug Weinstein at the end of this week. We'll tell you when that happens, and then next week, our normal time, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, our normal Q&A.
Okay, I will put that on my my calendar. And in the meantime, thanks all for tuning in. Send questions about anything you might see during the course of the next few days. And, you know, if some strange stuff happens that warrants popping on live, we definitely will. We hope to talk to Doug Weinstein again end of this week. And I mean, this has been a crazy week.
Share, like.
Oh yeah, and do that. And isn't there the bell? Isn't there like a new thing?
A bell. A new bell. Subscribe, share, like, and a bell, and like, and we'll see you soon.
That's such a long list of things. But do your best. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
All righty.